Hey guys, tonight we gallop straight into the middle of nowhere. No roads, no lights, no mercy. The Central Asian steppe stretches in every direction, like the world forgot where to stop painting. You're here, standing ankle deep in wild grass and ankle deeper in trouble just as the sun decides to duck behind the horizon. The temperature drops faster than your confidence. There's no town, no map, no tent, just wind, hooves in the distance, and you, very much on foot. And fair warning, you probably won't survive this. Not unless you grow a thick coat of fur and sprout hooves before morning. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And drop your location and local time in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink against the wind, your cheeks already numbing from the chill. It's early autumn, supposedly the mild season. But out here, even the breeze bites like it hasn't had a proper meal in weeks. The sky's going full bruise, dark purples, amber streaks, and just a hint of blood orange, and the land underneath offers no shelter. You're alone, at least until you hear them. Hoofbeats, a low, thunderous pulse coming from the north. Not fast enough to be a raid, not slow enough to be a herd. You turn toward it, trying not to look like a threat, which, let's be honest, is hard when you're a modern person, carrying nothing but your dignity and a vague awareness that fermented milk is probably on the menu tonight. A single horse crests the rise. The rider wears a sheepskin cloak and a fur hat pulled down to the brows. Their expression is unreadable, cold as the air. They don't wave, they just watch. You raise a hand, not a greeting, more like a universal "please don't shoot me" gesture. The rider studies you for another beat, then dismounts slowly. No words, just motion. They lead the horse forward, and you catch your first close look. The animal is massive. Not in a romantic knightly steed sort of way, but in a "this horse could trample you without blinking" kind of way. Stocky, muscular, with eyes that look like they know more about survival than you ever will. The rider gestures toward the horse, then at you, then at the horizon. You're not sure if it's an invitation or an ultimatum. Either way, you follow. They let you walk, but barely. You trudge alongside the horse as twilight soaks into the land. Your boots, already regretting their choices, squish slightly with each step. There's no path, just instinct, and the riders trust in their horse, who seems to be leading more than being led. After what feels like an hour, but could be 10 minutes or 2 days, you spot a cluster of gers in the distance, round felt tents, low, wide, smoke curling from chimneys like the earth is sighing. You head straight toward them, then stop, because something's wrong. You blink, and the camp is gone. No sound, no movement, no hint it was ever there. You're sure you saw it. Even the horse hesitates. The rider doesn't flinch, just spits into the wind and mutters something you don't understand. The superstition here isn't subtle. According to some legends, still taken seriously by modern herders, the steppe hides what it wants. Camps can vanish, time can slip, and spirits walk in fur and hooves. Historians still argue whether this belief in disappearing camps and shape-shifting winds was metaphorical, weather-based, or an early form of trauma response. But right now, none of that matters, because you are, once again, alone, and the sun is gone. You're led to a hollow in the land, shielded from the wind. A fire is lit in seconds, literally with flint and dried dung, and the warmth feels like forgiveness. The rider finally speaks. Their voices gravel, their eyes humorless. You don't catch the words, but you understand. You're not out of danger, you've just begun the waiting. A cold night is falling. The wolves are out there, and your only friend has 4 legs. The horse stands close, steam rising from its nostrils in steady huffs like a kettle, just barely not whistling. You sit by the fire, trying not to look too much like someone who just watched a village disappear. The rider throws dried roots into the flames, and the smoke shifts to a bitter scent, almost medicinal. You're not sure if it's to ward off wolves or ghosts, or if those two are considered the same thing out here. Your fingers sting from the cold, even near the fire. The rider reaches into a satchel and pulls out a skin pouch. They offer it without ceremony. You take a cautious sip. It's sour, fizzy, and warm in a way that makes your sinuses clear and your stomach consider filing a complaint. Fermented mare's milk. Erag. You try not to grimace. It's not just a drink, it's a sign of trust, and possibly an intestinal dare. The rider eats with slow, mechanical precision, slivers of dried meat, a handful of hardened cheese, and what looks like raw lung served with a side of intense eye contact. You do your best to match the rhythm. Every bite is a test. You chew, swallow, nod. They nod back. Communication successful. Suddenly the horse shifts. Ears flick. Head turns. Something's out there. The rider stands, pulling a curved blade from their belt. Not a sword. A knife, long and wicked, honed by use, not show. You grab a stick from the fire, because you're very brave and also very unarmed. The wind picks up. You hear nothing else. But you know better now than to trust silence. The rider clicks their tongue twice. The horse steps in front of you, protectively. It's not a gesture of affection. It's a calculation. You're part of the camp now, even if it's only a camp of two. The wind dies. The tension stays. The rider spits again, this time into the fire. You follow their gaze. There, not 50 yards away, are tracks in the frost. Fresh. Wolf. Probably. But deep. Heavy. You don't ask. They don't explain. Instead, they throw more roots into the fire and mutter words under their breath. Not curses, not prayers, something in between. There's a widespread belief among steppe nomads, especially among Kazakh and Buryat groups, that fire smoke carries spoken protection. The hearth isn't just warmth, it's watching. You're not just feeding the flame, you're feeding the unseen. The rider says something sharp and short, points to the horse, then to you, then mimics a riding gesture, but not one you're familiar with. You stand, puzzled. They roll their eyes, universal body language, and walk you toward the horse. You're about to mount when they stop you. Grab your wrist. They shake their head. Then they mount the horse first, spin it in a tight circle, and slide off like water. You're being shown something. Again they point, this time with more urgency. You approach the horse. It doesn't move, but its eyes dare you. You reach for the saddle. There is none, just a wool blanket tied down with rope. Okay, fine. You place a foot where you think a stirrup might go if this were a movie, and then you're on the ground, face in the grass. Horse still staring at you. The rider chuckles. Once. That's worse than a whole monologue. You get back up, dust your pride off your knees, and try again. This time, slower. You talk to the horse, low and unsure. It flicks an ear. You press your hand to its shoulder. Breathe out, it doesn't flinch. Then, with a deep breath and a lot of misplaced optimism, you launch yourself up and over, and somehow, you stay. The rider nods once. Approval, maybe. Or, good enough. You ride in silence. Not far, just over a rise where the frost glitters like crushed bone and the air thins even more. There's a second campfire already burning. You didn't see it before, but you're not surprised now. You dismount shakily. The horse snorts. You stumble toward the fire. A figure waits. An old man, face carved like driftwood, hands covered in soot and rings made from bone. He doesn't speak. He simply points to the flames, then to you, and you realize this isn't a camp, it's a test. And the horse? It hasn't accepted you yet. Not really. Until it does, you're just a body on borrowed legs. The old man throws something into the fire that smells like blood and salt. The smoke turns blue, and for a moment, it curls into the shape of a wolf. You don't react to the smoke wolf, at least not outwardly. Your eyes twitch, your breath catches. But you keep still, because everyone else is. And if there's one rule you've learned out here, it's this. Follow the silence. If no one gasps, neither do you. If no one runs, don't even blink. You watch the smoke dissolve back into formless blue wisps melting into the dark. The old man, who still hasn't spoken, nods once, and you realize this was the point. Not to test your strength, your stillness. He finally gestures. Sit. You obey. The fire crackles. You're handed another skin pouch, this one thicker. The scent inside is complicated. It smells like sour cream, wet leather, and courage. You take a sip. It punches you in the sinuses, then nestles into your chest like an aggressive pet. You cough once, then nod, because apparently that's the custom now. The old man speaks, slowly, in syllables that don't rush themselves. He talks about horses that cry in their sleep, He says wolves have names but only use them when they're angry. He tells you the steppe used to be smaller because people remembered each other. Now it stretches wider because they forget. You think it's poetry until he mentions a family, a woman, a boy, 3 horses, gone, not lost, gone. Like the gyre you saw on the horizon, vanished without a trace one evening, fire still warm, soup still bubbling, no signs of struggle, no tracks, just absence. Steppe swallowed them, he says, and tosses more dried herbs into the fire. Historians still argue whether these disappearances were due to raids, sudden migration, or mythological reinterpretation of natural danger. The truth is probably tangled between all 3, but in this moment, sitting beside a man who burns plants to speak to invisible names, you lean toward belief. You glance at the horse. It's still there, watching. You notice its breath. It's steady even, and its ears are turned toward you now, not away, a shift. The old man stands, then kneels beside the horse. He traces something on its flank with his finger, a symbol you can't quite see. Then he dips his hand into ash, smears it on your chest just below your collarbone. It stings, not from pain, from recognition. The fire spits sparks. The horse stamps once. The man says, "Now it begins." You don't know what it is, but the temperature drops. The stars overhead burn clearer, and the wind stops pretending to be your friend. You're led back toward the first camp, where your original rider waits, arms crossed, clearly amused. They toss you a wool blanket. It's thick, matted with age, and smells like horse, smoke, and probably 17 previous users. Sleep, they say. The first word they've spoken to you. You nod, but you don't sleep. Not yet. Because now the night begins to listen. You lie down near the fire. The horse settles beside you, not too close, but close enough to share warmth. Its breath is rhythmic, so is the land. Your mind starts to drift, and then a low howl cuts across the night. Not near, but not far, a single note, mournful. Hungry, you sit up. The rider is already moving. They throw more dried roots into the flames. Blue smoke again. Another howl, closer, then another to the east. The fire isn't for comfort anymore. It's a barrier. The horse rises, ears back, tail stiff. You're handed a long stick, half spear, half staff. Circle, the rider says. You understand. You trace a wide ring in the dirt around the fire with the spear. Widen it, complete it. The rider throws in the last of their roots. The fire flares, and in the smoke, you see not 1 but 3 shadows. Wolves, maybe, or people wearing wolf faces. You blink, they vanish. The horse steps between you and the wind, not to protect you, to challenge them. This is what survival looks like. Not glory, not battle, just not dying. You press your hand to the horse's shoulder. It doesn't flinch. The howl comes again, but it's fading, retreating, or respecting, or waiting. You lie back down, and this time the horse stays beside you, breathing, listening, choosing. You wake with frost in your hair, not metaphorical frost, actual, sparkly, freeze your eyelashes together frost. The fire's nothing but glowing coals now, breathing their last heat into the earth. The horse is gone. You bolt upright, panic pinging through your chest like a cracked drum. But before your pulse can spiral, you hear a soft snort. Just behind the rise, you scramble up the slope in half-frozen boots, toes stiff, fingers slower. And there it is, your horse, grazing like it didn't just ghost you in the middle of predator country. It lifts its head and gives you the kind of look only a 1,000-pound animal can manage. One part, calm down, one part, you're late. At the crest of the hill, your rider waits. Still no smile, still wrapped in fur like they're immune to cold and emotion. They beckon you down with one hand, then turn their back, fully trusting you'll follow, which you do, because the alternative is wandering the steppe alone with nothing but regrets and your taste memory of fermented mare's milk. They lead you to a new gyre, white felt, smoke trailing upward in a spiral, door painted red. The wind shifts as you approach, bringing with it a mix of scents. Goat, earth, wood smoke, and something sharper. Juniper, maybe, or fear. Inside, a woman sits by the hearth. She's older than she looks and younger than time. Her braids are long, wrapped with red string, and her eyes scan you before your foot crosses the threshold. She gestures for you to sit, then burns something in a copper bowl. Twigs, herbs, something that crackles purple. "This is not your name," she says. You blink, confused obviously. She reaches into a pouch and throws something onto the coals, a burst of flame. You flinch. The rider smirks for the first time. The smoke rises, and within it, 3 shapes, humanish, animal adjacent. One has your face, the woman points. These are the names you were given, but only one belongs to you now. She offers no riddle, no explanation. You are to choose. Historians still argue whether these naming rites were purely symbolic, intended to mark adulthood or allegiance, or if they were taken literally, believed to shape fate. But the woman's eyes leave no room for academic distance. This is not theory. This is contract. You choose. One figure fades, then another. The third stays, watching. You're handed a strip of cloth braided in 3 colours, black, red and pale gold. You tie it around your wrist as instructed. The rider nods. You've passed something, maybe a test, maybe yourself. Outside, the horse waits. You approach it slowly, it doesn't move. You lift your hand, it leans forward and breathes into your palm. Warmth, steam, recognition. This is the moment you've been waiting for. You don't ride yet. You walk, beside the horse, through low grass and frost into the morning wind. The camp disappears behind you, not vanishing like before, just fading into memory. You crest another hill. There, scattered across the valley below, are dozens of horses, wild, half-tamed, eating, sparring, sleeping in sunlight like gods wrapped in muscle and dust. Your rider whistles. 3 of the herd lift their heads. They come toward you, slow and sure. Yours doesn't flinch. Instead, it moves slightly closer to your side, claiming you. The others halt a few paces away, watching, not jealous, just respectful. You sit on a rock. The rider hands you something, dried meat, a flask, a small comb made of bone, and a bit of rope. You glance at it. They say, "If you can braid this without looking, your hands belong to the horse." You raise an eyebrow, they shrug. You try, it's awkward, your fingers fumble. The rope twists wrong. You start again, this time, slower. You listen, not for instruction, for rhythm. Eventually the braid forms, crude, lopsided, but complete. You hand it back, the rider ties it to your horse's mane. Nothing else is said, nothing needs to be, because now, when the wind brushes past you, it curves, just slightly, like it remembers your name too. You ride for the first time as the sun begins its long descent behind a bruised skyline. It's not a triumphant gallop, more like a wobbling negotiation. Your legs argue with the saddle, except there is no saddle, just that coarse wool pad you've already learned to distrust. The horse moves like it's aware of your doubt, not irritated, just indifferent. If you fall off, that's between you and gravity. Your rider is already ahead, seated like part of the animal, swaying in perfect unity. You catch yourself wondering how many years, or lives, it takes to ride like that. Probably both. The wind is stronger now, colder. It cuts through your clothes like they're made of paper. You bury your face into your scarf and keep going. You're headed toward another camp. This one permanent-ish. A winter site nestled in a shallow basin where the wind rolls overhead instead of through your ribs. You arrive as dusk deepens to indigo. Smoke trails from the stovepipes. A few dogs bark lazily, then realize you're unfamiliar and switch to full-throated warnings. You're greeted not with smiles, but with eyes, calculating, measuring. The rider says something low and fast in a dialect you can't place. A boy, maybe 13, nods and runs ahead. You dismount awkwardly. Your knees buckle. Your thighs scream. You've discovered at least 3 new muscles and all of them are angry. A woman steps from one of the jers. She's small, draped in layers, and holds a stick that might double as a ladle or a disciplinary tool depending on how you behave. She beckons you inside. Warmth, finally. The kind that wraps itself around your back like it missed you. The jar is dense with scent. Wood smoke, mutton fat, and a kind of musky sweetness from dried herbs hung from the rafters. A kettle hisses on the stove. She pours you a bowl of something pale and thick. You drink it. Sweet. Milky. With just enough tang to confuse your tongue, it's not bad, until she tells you it's made from reindeer milk. You pause, then nod, because apparently that's the game here. Say yes to everything, flinch at nothing. She laughs. You're warming up, literally and socially. A man enters, tall with a long moustache and a face carved from stone. He doesn't speak, he just hands you a carved charm, a piece of bone etched with a spiral and a dot. You don't know what it is, but he places it in your palm and closes your fingers around it. Then he leaves. You stare at the charm, it hums slightly. Not in sound, in presence. You tuck it into your sash. Later that evening, you're invited or summoned outside. A circle has formed, fire in the middle. Men and women seated cross-legged, passing around bowls and stories. Your rider speaks for you, not on your behalf, as your witness. They describe your fall from the horse, your second try, the rope you braided. It sounds ridiculous, like a child's fable, but they nod, they approve. Then an elder speaks. He tells a story of a traveller who rode through 3 winters without a horse. Foolish, someone mutters. The elder nods, but he walked far enough to become one. The fire crackles. Someone throws dried lichen into the flames. It sparks green. Then someone else stands. A man with a limp and a flute made from eagle bone. He plays, not a song, a summoning. Low, spiralling notes that seem to twist upward, pulling the stars closer. The horses outside shift, whinny, stamp, not in fear, in rhythm. You close your eyes, and suddenly, you see the steppe from above, endless, moving, alive. You open your eyes, and everyone is watching you. The elder says, "The fire heard you," which is either the highest compliment or the next challenge. You're handed a bowl, not for drinking, for telling. You're to pour something into it that isn't liquid. A memory, a truth, a mistake. You pause, then reach into your sash and place the bone charm inside. The flute plays a single note. The bowl glows briefly, then cools. They nod. Again, you're accepted. Not as one of them, not yet, but as someone who survived the sunset, for tonight. The stars are needles, frozen, piercing, suspended over the camp in a sky so black it feels carved out. You lie beneath them, wrapped in wool and animal skin, your new charm tied around your neck with a strip of rawhide. The bone is warm against your chest, warmer than anything else, almost unnervingly so. You shift slightly under your blanket. The horse is nearby, dozing on its feet. The others sleep, or pretend to, but you don't, because out here, the dark breathes. You hear it now, not wind, not wolves, something slower, thicker, a sound with weight. The elders call it Yulanam, the red quiet. They say it only comes when someone's being watched by something old enough to be forgotten. You stare at the fire's glow outside the jar. It flickers faintly, ringed with stones, and just beyond that, footprints, fresh, deep, circling. You don't panic. You've learned not to. Panic makes you loud. Loud gets you followed. You reach for your boots, frozen stiff beside you. Slide them on, one by one. Each breath puffs out like a ghost. You step outside. The air stings instantly, your nose and cheeks going numb within seconds. But your eyes adjust. The moon is low but full. The wind is sharp. And the prints, those deep-clawed ovals, are definitely not human. They circle the camp like brushstrokes. Precise, intentional. You crouch and find one set leading away from your jar. You follow, because of course you do. The frost crunches beneath your feet. The landscape is lunar, pale grass, ridged earth, shadow stretching in every direction. You pass the horse herd sleeping in tight clusters. Their breath rises like smoke signals. Then you hear it. A growl. Low, wet, close. You freeze. It doesn't. You turn. And there it is. A shape. Too tall to be a wolf. Too thin to be a man. Wrapped in fur. Bent backward at the knees. Eyes like lanterns doused in blood. It doesn't charge. It watches. And then it kneels. Your breath catches. It places something on the ground. Then disappears. Just like that. No sound. No trail. Gone. You don't chase. You walk. Slowly. Toward where it knelt. There, resting in a ring of disturbed frost. A bone flute. Carved with the same spiral as your charm. You pick it up. It's warm. You bring it back to camp. The elders wake before you speak. They don't look surprised. One of them says, "He gave you breath." Another nods. "You'll need it." They invite you into the circle again. A younger boy asks, "Was it a spirit?" The elder answers, "No," then adds, "Not only." This is how belief works out here. There are no lines, only layers. The flute is placed in the centre of the fire circle. They all bow their heads, you do too. Later you're taught how to play it, not by pressing fingers on holes, but by mimicking wind. The old man says, "If it sounds like music, you've already failed." So you blow, softly. A dry rasp escapes. Not music, not noise, but presence. The horses stir. Your own whinnies once, low and thoughtful. You blow again. The sound deepens, a spiral in audio form. The elder smiles, almost. You're learning. That night, no wolves howl, no footsteps circle. Even the wind seems hesitant. The fire burns steady, and you sleep, finally, without fear, but with the bone flute clutched in your palm, just in case the red quiet comes again. You wake to snorting breath inches from your face. Not a wolf, not a person, your horse, lowering its head like it's checking if you're still alive. You blink sleepily and offer a weak grunt in response. It blinks back, then, without ceremony, turns and trots off to rejoin the others, leaving a small pile of warm dung where your pillow should have been. Good morning. The camp is already stirring. Smoke trails from the tops of jers like sleepy serpents. Children carry firewood in bundles twice their size. An old woman is yelling at a dog that keeps eating ash. You stretch, creaking in every limb, and step outside to the kind of cold that makes your teeth want to shatter. The fire circle is alive again, and you're called to it by nothing more than a glance. The rider from your first night waits for you, hands on their hips, clearly amused by your morning dishevelment. They gesture with their chin toward a flat stone on the ground. You sit. A bowl is placed before you. Inside, a few strips of dried meat, a chunk of curd, and something grey and gelatinous. You hesitate. The rider shrugs. You eat it. It tastes like regret and boiled socks. The elder to your left grins. Breakfast past. Today's lesson is naming the wind spirits. A child hands you a strip of parchment. 3 symbols are drawn on it. Rough, spiralling, unfamiliar. You're told not to speak them aloud, but to remember. Names carry weight, the elder says, pointing to your chest. Say the wrong one and the wind forgets you. You glance at the parchment. The first symbol looks like a knot, the second like a blade, the third a spiral broken at one end. You nod. They burn the parchment. You're expected to memorize, not preserve, and if you forget, well, the wind is known for being petty. You're then given a task. Walk to the western ridge, alone. Take only your horse and the bone flute. You ask why. The rider says, because that's where your echo is. You don't ask what that means anymore. You just mount. The horse doesn't wait this time. It moves with purpose. You follow. The ride is quiet. Snow drifts lazily from a grey sky. The land glows with frost and light, and the promise of things no city street will ever whisper. You reach the ridge. It overlooks nothing, or everything. A vast bowl of steppe stretching to the ends of the world. You dismount, stand, wait. The wind picks up, soft, then stronger. You hold the flute to your lips and blow. No song, just breath. The wind responds, not with sound, with resistance. It pushes back, you push again. Together you form a rhythm, not music, not yet, but memory. Suddenly your horse huffs loudly and turns. Something is behind you. You freeze, slowly turn, nothing there, just 3 spirals etched into the snow. You didn't make them. You trace one with your boot. It's warm underneath. The air around you thickens, not colder, fuller. Then, just for a moment, you hear your name. Not your modern name, not one anyone gave you. The other one, the one that shivers up from your bones and settles behind your teeth. You don't speak it. You bow. The wind stills. The snow stops. You mount again. The ride back is longer. Somehow, the sun is lower than it should be. When you arrive, the camp is different. Not moved, just rearranged. Your ger isn't where it was. The fire circle has shifted. The people don't look at you the same way. The rider says, "You were gone a long time." You check the sky. The sun hasn't even set. But your breath now fogs in rhythm with your horses. The flute feels heavier, and you realise something followed you back. Or maybe it never left. You don't sleep that night, not because of noise, not because of fear, but because your body is buzzing, like every cell is vibrating just out of sync with the rest of the world. You lie under your blanket, eyes wide open, staring at the roof of the ger. The fire has burned low, casting long shadows that twist with each flicker. At some point, your horse lays down outside, its breathing slow, steady. You match it, inhale for inhale, as if syncing your lungs might calm your thoughts. Eventually you rise. The air inside is sharp, the kind that makes your eyelashes stiffen and your breath crackle in your nose. You slip outside quietly. No one stirs. But a few eyes glint in the dark. Horses, dogs, maybe more. You walk toward the edge of the camp where the fire circle burned the night before. There's something new there, a small bundle wrapped in wool. You approach. It's a stirrup, carved from bone, smoothed by time, decorated with a single spiral and a dot. You pick it up. Behind you, the elder's voice rises like smoke. "Now ride with one foot." You turn, and she's just standing there like she never went to bed. "What?" She smiles. "You'll understand." You don't argue anymore. You tie the stirrup to one side of the rope saddle, looped low. It swings unsteadily. Your horse watches, unimpressed. You mount with difficulty, one leg swinging, the other fumbling. The elder nods once. You're not here to look graceful. You ride like that until dawn. And somewhere in the dark, with your leg dangling awkwardly and your spine learning new complaints, you understand. The stirrup isn't about the ride. It's about the imbalance, about how trust forms when your body stops pretending it has control. You lean into the horse, let it carry more than your weight, let it lead. The sun peeks over the hills, frost glitters, your breath, and the horses rise in twin plumes. Back at camp, a small child runs up to you, wide-eyed, and presses something into your palm before scampering off. It's a wolf bone amulet, carved, darkened by smoke, and strung on sinew. You hold it carefully. Your rider appears beside you and mutters, "Keep it hidden." You ask why. They say, "It confuses the hungry." Great. You tuck it inside your robe. Just before breakfast, you're pulled aside by the young woman who painted your ger door red last night. She invites you to sit, and she brushes ash along your jawline in 2 straight lines, left and right. "Wolves don't see straight lines," she explains. "They see the broken, the bent." Historians are still unsure whether this was actual folklore or protective psychology, a way to ward off fear through visible rituals. Either way, you're not taking chances. That afternoon, you and your horse are brought to the edge of a long, narrow plain. Another rider waits across the field. You're told, moonlight race. The rules are not explained. The challenge is not optional. You breathe once, then ride. It's not a race in the way you understand. There's no finish line. The horses run not toward a goal, but away from something. You feel it. The wind behind you thickens. Your horse surges. The other rider shouts something you don't catch. You glance back, and you see it. A shape. Tall. Wrong. Running faster than wolves should. You don't look again, you just ride. Your horse moves like it knows this rhythm, like it's raced this shadow before. The moon blurs above you, the frost flashes silver underhoof, and when you finally slow, heart racing, lungs burning, the shape is gone. The other rider is gone too. You're alone, for exactly 7 breaths. Then your rider appears from behind a knoll. They nod. You passed. The moon glows high now. The steppe is quiet again. You dismount, legs jelly, and your horse does something new. It lowers its head and touches your shoulder. Not a nudge, a gesture. You're part of the herd now. Not master, not owner, just belonging. You walk back to camp together. 2 shadows in the frost. 1 heartbeat shared between hooves and feet. The next morning you're greeted not by a person, but by firelight curling up your face. Someone has already stoked the hearth inside your ger. You open your eyes to golden flickers dancing across the felt walls, casting ghost shadows in every direction. The wolf bone amulet is still tucked beneath your robe, pressed against your ribs like a second heartbeat. You sit up slowly. Your horse is gone again, vanished into the morning with the same stealth it used the first time. But you're not worried now. You know it'll return. Or maybe it never really left. Maybe it's circling the camp just out of sight, watching the wind for shapes that don't belong. Outside, the world is blinding. Sunlight on frost turns the steppe into one giant mirror. Every step crunches beneath your boots like stepping on sugar glass. The camp is quiet, too quiet, but not in the haunted sense, in the expectant sense. The elder meets you at the edge of camp. She holds a curved stick in one hand, charcoal. She points to the snow. You are to draw your horse, but not what it looks like, what it feels like. You hesitate, crouch, and begin. The lines come slowly, not a perfect body, not a proud head. You draw a swirl near the chest like a spiral of breath. You draw heavy legs weighted by survival, and you draw one eye closed, listening. When you finish, the elder looks at it a long time, then she draws something beside it. 3 human figures, 2 standing, 1 lying down. You look at her, confused. She says nothing, just walks away. That afternoon, you're told to prepare for sleeping with the herd. You're handed a fur-lined blanket and led out to the edge of the grazing field. The wind has picked up again, as usual. You're told they will keep you warm, and that's it. No tent, no fire, no instructions. Just you, a blanket, and several thousand pounds of hoofed animals with opinions. You find your horse quickly. It's the one that turns to look at you before you speak. It doesn't move toward you, but it doesn't walk away either. You settle nearby, letting the others surround you. Their body heat is real, powerful. They shift and snort and stamp, but not nervously. Just living. You lie there, eyes open to a black sky, pressed into frozen earth softened by the scent of sweat and hide and hay. And then, a sound. Far off, but not distant enough. Howling. Sharp. Harmonic. Wolves. You tense. The horses do not, they stay still, except yours, which moves closer. It steps over your body, then settles behind you, guarding your back. You're surrounded by breath and muscle and the slow, deep drum of hooves shifting against the ground. The howling rises, so does the wind. You clutch the bone flute in one hand, your wolf bone charm in the other, and wait. Not for safety, for understanding. And it comes, not as words, not as logic, but as instinct. The herd is not unafraid. They are ready, and because you are with them, so are you. You fall asleep like that, in the crook of a horse's warmth. With wolves singing lullabies and wind pulling blankets from your face, you dream of galloping through night, of being chased, of never being caught. You wake up covered in frost and horsehair, and to your left someone's nose is whistling. Not human, your horse. Its breath puffs against your neck like a sleepy furnace. You shift slightly, stiff in every joint, and the horse snorts as if to say, "You moved? Why?" The herd is already stirring. One by one they stand, shake, trot off to graze. The sound of hooves over frost is strangely comforting now, like footsteps in an old house you've come to trust. Your horse lingers by your side a moment longer before rising and walking a few paces off, tail flicking in time with the wind. You stand up slowly. The cold isn't cruel today. It's clean, sharp, awake. Someone calls you back to camp with a single whistle, high and short. You recognize the tone. It's not a command, it's a cue. A signal that the next test is beginning, even if no one says it out loud. You return to the fire circle. They're already assembled, the elders, the riders, even the children sitting cross-legged in the back with wide eyes and wool caps pulled low. The rider you first met gestures for you to sit beside them. You do. Then they begin throwing dry moss into the fire, slowly, rhythmically. It crackles, flares, then softens again. The smoke starts to swirl in unnatural patterns, forming a low, wide ring around the fire. "Do you see them?" someone whispers beside you. At first, you think they're asking about the people. Then you realize they mean the wolves in the smoke. You lean closer. The ring tightens. Dark shapes twist inside. Legs, snouts, teeth. Not threatening, just present. A warning? A ritual? Both? The wind picks up and the smoke follows, dancing in looping patterns that never rise above the fire. It's being held down, anchored by something or someone. The elder speaks. They circle when something has been claimed. She points to the bone flute hanging at your side. You were not given that. You were chosen by it. The smoke thickens. One of the children coughs. An older man stands, raises his arms and begins to chant. Not a melody, more like a repetition. Words looped in patterns like hoofbeats. You're handed a stick, just a plain carved branch, forked at one end. You're told to press it into the smoke ring. You do. Immediately the smoke changes. It coils around the stick, climbs it like ivy. And then a gap forms, not big, just enough. You see through it. And what's on the other side makes your stomach knot. Bones. Not many, but deliberate. Arranged in a spiral. Worn smooth by wind. A ritual site. Or a grave. Maybe both. The smoke collapses inward and vanishes. No one speaks. But they look at you differently now. Not with fear. Not with awe. Just with distance. You've been marked. Again. That night, you sleep inside. But it doesn't feel safer. You toss and turn. Not from dreams, but from the absence of them. You're too tired to see, too alert to rest. In the middle of the night, the rider taps on your doorframe and hands you a strip of hide. A message is burned into it. One word, written in the same spiral script you saw in the snow. You recognize it, though no one taught you. It means watcher. The rider says, they circle for you now. You want to ask who they are, but you already know. The wolves in the smoke, the ones who don't eat, who don't howl, who just walk around and around until something breaks. You sit at the fire until dawn, the flute in your lap, the wolf-bone charm around your neck, and the spiral-stamped hide across your knees. The fire spits once, then settles, and you realize you've become something you don't have words for. Not a rider, not a guest, not a spirit, but part of the ring, a moving edge around something ancient and untamed. And when the wolves come next, they won't be circling you, they'll be circling with you. You don't wake to sunlight or birdsong. You wake because your horse nudges your shoulder with the urgency of a friend who's decided to rescue you before you even know you're in danger. You sit up groggily, and in the grey pre-dawn light, you see that the camp has changed again. Not moved, just rearranged. Tents shifted a few feet, fire rings relocated, even the horses tied in new directions. Nothing is where it was when you closed your eyes. No one mentions it. You rise and follow the smells of boiling fat and buttered grain. You eat in silence, like everyone else. Breakfast is not for chatter, it's for watching the land. Because something out there always wants to cross the invisible line between there and here. You're sent to collect water today, alone. You don't question it. You just mount your horse, who's decided not to test you this morning mercifully, and head off toward the creek. It's frozen, of course it's frozen, but not solid, just enough to make it dangerous. You break the ice with a stick, dip your leather pouch in slowly. The water's so cold it bites. You fill 2 bladders, tie them to your saddle, and begin the ride back. Then you see it. A figure, not a person. A shape. Cloaked. Limping. Trailing just beyond the line of the ridge. You stop. It stops. Your horse growls. Yes, growls. A deep, guttural sound from somewhere in its chest. The figure tilts its head and vanishes behind the hill. You wait and wait. Nothing. When you return to camp, your rider is waiting. They say nothing, just point to your pouch. You hand it over. They nod, then pull something from their belt, a ring of smoke-charred fur bound with red thread. Keep this tonight, they say. Don't hang it, wear it. You loop it over your neck beside the wolf-bone charm. It smells of ash and iron. The rest of the day is uneventful. Children play with carved bone animals. 2 men race their horses in tight circles. A woman sings to her fire, quietly, her eyes closed. You spend your time helping repair a split tent flap, threading sinew through holes in thick felt. Your fingers go numb, you don't complain. That evening the wind returns, stronger this time. It howls. Not through the trees, there are none. Not through the mountains, they're far away. But through the spaces between tents, through the gaps in thought. You sit in the fire circle again, This time everyone is quieter than usual. No music, no stories, just fire and wind. The elder breaks the silence, tells of a time when a village lit too many fires, and a wolf spirit came to remind them that not every dark thing needed to be chased away. Some needed to be welcomed. Your horse wanders into the firelight. It stands behind you, then kneels. The circle gasps. This is not normal. Horses kneel for death, or for birth, or for you don't know, not this, not you. The elder stands, walks over, places both hands on your head, whispers a word into your hair. You don't understand it. You don't need to. The fire flares, the wind hisses, and just beyond the light, you see them. Eyes. Not glowing, just reflecting. Wolf eyes. Dozens. Watching. You do not move. The horse rises. The elder steps back. Someone throws dried grass into the flames. The eyes vanish. You feel the charm at your chest heat slightly. Just once, then cool. When you return to your gyr, the walls seem thinner. You sleep anyway, because now they're not just watching you. They're waiting for you to walk, to ride, to lead. You ride before sunrise, not as a choice, as a summons. You wake to your horse already saddled, standing by your tent with one hoof tapping lightly against the frozen ground, like a heartbeat too patient to be ignored. The rider, your rider, waits near the fire pit, arms crossed, eyes unreadable, and with a second horse in tow. Not for them, for you. But it's not yours. It's a test horse. Leaner, meaner, restless. The kind that bucks before breakfast. They hand you the reins and say, "You've ridden trust, now ride doubt." Lovely. You mount eventually. Not smoothly. You stay on, barely. The horse fights you, just enough to remind you who's doing who the favour. Your legs grip tighter. Your breath shortens. Then they lead you out. Not alone this time. 3 riders, 4 horses. You form a crooked line moving across the frostbitten land like a shadow marching into itself. No one speaks. There is only breath, leather, hooves, and cold. You ride to a place called the Circle, not a metaphor, a real place. A stone ring, half buried in the earth, with a shallow fire pit in the centre and carvings so old the wind has forgotten their meaning. You dismount, the others do too, then one of them gestures. Sit. You do. The riders gather around you. They each take an object from their saddlebags, a claw, a feather, a length of twisted copper. They place them in the centre, around the fire pit. Then they point to you. You're expected to contribute. You fumble for your pouch. The bone flute, too sacred. The charm, already part of you. You settle on the strip of hide, the one burned with watcher. You place it gently between the other items. The wind stops, not slows, stops. The stillness is jarring. Your skin tightens, your ears ring. Then one of the riders begins to chant, not with words, with sounds, clicks, growls, breath patterns. Another joins, then the third. You're pulled into it. The rhythm takes you. You find yourself breathing with them in and out like tides of frozen air and half-remembered names. And then you hear footsteps. Not yours, not theirs. Someone, or something, is circling the stone ring. You look. Nothing. You feel. Everything. The horse behind you shifts, uneasy. You don't move. The lead rider steps forward, kneels, and lights a small fire. It flares blue, then green, then goes utterly black. You've never seen black fire before. It doesn't glow. It pulls light, pulls warmth, pulls thought. You close your eyes, and inside that darkness, you see the wolf again. Not made of smoke, not flesh either. Something between. It speaks, not in words, in knowing. You flinch, and that's when it lunges. Straight into your chest, you jolt, gasp. Eyes open, the fire is normal again. So is the light. But your heartbeat is doubled. No, it's not yours anymore. The riders watch you. No nods, no smiles, just silence. The horse you rode today, not yours, steps toward you and bows its head. The rider places a hand on your shoulder and whispers, "Now you've tasted fear." You're not sure what they mean, but you feel it, like frost in your lungs that won't melt. On the ride back, your horse moves closer to you than ever before. So close your knees bump, so close your breath matches its stride. And when you dismount, it doesn't walk away. It waits, as if asking, "Ready now?" And for the first time, you are. You sleep like a rock plunged into a frozen stream, still, cold, immovable. No dreams, no images, just darkness and weight. When you wake, your horse is gone again, and this time so is everyone else. The camp is empty, not abandoned, just paused. Fires still smoke. Boots rest outside tents. A kettle whistles somewhere, unattended. But there are no people, no dogs, no sound. Just the slow, rhythmic flap of tent skins in the breeze. You step outside, unsure if this is another test or a mistake. The sun is low and wide, burning a yellow smear through the horizon. You hear one thing: hooves. Slow, steady, approaching from behind. You turn. Your horse is there. No reins, no saddle, no rider, just present. It steps forward, close enough that you feel its breath again, the warm fog rolling across your cheeks. Then it does something unexpected. It kneels, again, but this time it stays down, and you understand. This isn't submission, it's invitation. You climb on, bareback, no words exchanged, and it rises slowly beneath you, steady as the earth itself. You ride, not guided, not commanding, just with. Through the frost-crusted valley, past the empty camp, into a place you haven't seen yet. A canyon of rust-coloured stone and ice-glazed ridges. Birds you don't recognise shriek from above, and the wind whistles through the ravine like it's searching for its own name. Your horse leads you to a bend, where a ring of soot and broken branches marks a fire long dead. In its centre, bones, laid out carefully, too carefully, each rib arranged, the spine straight, skull missing. Beside it, a single stone, carved into a spiral. You dismount, approach. This is no accident. It's a site, a place of remembering, or of warning. You place your hand over the spiral. It's warm, not just from the sun, from memory. Then a voice, not spoken aloud, but heard, inside your chest. It says, "Feed it." You reach into your pouch. You have the bone flute, the charm, the strip of hide, but none feel right. Then your hand closes on the wolf bone amulet. You hesitate, but you know. You remove it from your neck, place it on the stone spiral. The wind goes still, then sharp. A sudden gust tears across the canyon. You drop to one knee, shielding your eyes. And when you look back, the amulet is gone. The bones are gone. Only the spiral remains. And your horse, now standing directly behind you, silent, unmoving, but its eyes, different, calmer, older. It was part of this. You ride back with the wind at your back, not pushing, not dragging, just accompanying. When you return to camp, everyone's there again. Moving like they never left, you dismount. And this time they bow to you. Not deeply, not performatively, but enough to tell you something changed. The elder steps forward. She hands you a bowl. Inside, a single coal, still warm. She says, "Now you walk between the herds." And you understand. You're neither rider nor shaman. You're translating between breath and hoof, between howl and fire. That night, you don't sleep in your tent. You sleep outside, by the herd. Not beside it, within it. And as the frost creeps in and the horses sigh, you finally dream. Not of wolves, but of eyes watching from behind spirals, waiting for your next step in the snow. The next morning your breath comes in clouds as you open your eyes, frost lacing the tips of your eyelashes like a crown. Horses shuffle beside you, snorting plumes into the dawn. You rise slowly, your joints stiff, your thoughts soft. Sleep still clings to your spine, but something feels aligned. No one greets you, no one needs to. Your presence no longer surprises anyone. You are the rider who slept with the herd, the one whose horse knelt twice, the one who walked out into the canyon and returned. Whatever line once separated you from them has been blurred into irrelevance. You walk to the fire circle, already smoking. A new figure waits there. Not an elder, not a rider, a stranger, tall, wrapped in a grey wool cloak, skin like bark, a face that seems too still to be alive, until the firelight flickers and catches the twitch of an eye. This is the tongue giver. You've heard whispers. They don't live in any one camp. They appear when someone's ready to speak, not to people, but to their horse. You sit without being asked. The stranger holds a bundle of threads, each dyed with ash and soot. They lay the bundle before you. You have learned the silence, they say. Now learn the breath. They hand you a piece of gut string looped at one end. Speak to your horse, they say, but not with sound. You take the loop. You don't understand, but your body moves anyway. You walk to your horse. It's waiting by the edge of camp, pouring at the frost, steam rising from its back in slow spirals. You hold up the string. The horse watches. You breathe once, then again slower, and you hum, not music, just tone, low, circular. The horse tilts its head, then exhales, and in that shared breath something shifts. You feel it. You're no longer trying to command, you're asking. And the horse answers, with a nudge, with stillness, with understanding. You return to the circle. The stranger nods. Your tongue is not in your mouth, they say, it's in your ribs. That afternoon you're taken to the outer boundary of the camp, not for exile, for expansion. 2 riders join you. You ride together in silence. Your horse is stepping in perfect rhythm over the hardened snow. You arrive at a ridge. Below, another valley, smaller, unmarked. They point. Go! You descend alone. No path, no guide, just instinct. The wind picks up, but it isn't harsh. It tests you. It pulls at your scarf, at your horse's mane, at your thoughts. You hum again. Low, circular. The horse relaxes. You find the centre of the valley, and there, half buried in snow, is a ring of stones. You dismount, place your hand on one. It's warm. You dig around it, uncovering a carved image, a spiral. Your spiral, or at least one that knows you now. You sit. Pull out the bone flute. Breathe once, then blow. The sound this time isn't just air, it's language. The wind stills, then echoes, not in mimicry, in response. Your horse steps closer, lowers its head, and you hear it. Not in words, in breath. You're not riding me anymore, it says. We're moving. You rise, leave a small token in the stone ring, the last bit of copper thread from the bundle, then mount. Together you return. But the riders aren't at the ridge. No one meets you. You arrive back to a camp unchanged, except now, when you walk through it, the dogs do not bark. The horses turn their heads. The elders nod, not to you, but with you. And your rider, they smile. First time, and hand you a stick, a long one, painted with spirals, a staff, not a weapon, not a title, a signal. You carry it now, because soon you'll carry others, through wind, through wolves, through darkness and memory. They call it the cold that thinks. You don't hear that name until much later, long after the cold has introduced itself without words, long after it has wrapped its fingers around your spine and whispered into the marrow of your bones. But when you first feel it, when the warmth of your horse no longer wards it off and your breath no longer fogs but falls, you understand. You ride into it just before sunset, not far, just beyond the hills, where the snow stops being white and starts being blue. It's quiet there, too quiet. Not hushed like night, vacuumed, like something has sucked out all the noise and left a ringing space in its place. Your horse slows. You don't push it. You wouldn't dare. You're not alone. There's no sound, but you know. Something thinks here. Not a creature, not a god. The cold itself. Your guide today, a woman with a voice like dried leaves, tells you that the steppe remembers what it freezes. That sometimes it remembers too hard. That when it does, people vanish, mid-step, as if they were never written into the world at all. She laughs softly as she says it, but she doesn't smile. You dismount where the snow deepens into furrows, strange geometric dips in the land that look carved instead of drifted. A dozen others are already here, all riders, all silent. Their horses stand beside them like statues, steam rising from their shoulders in the shape of halos. You step forward. There's a basin ahead, shallow, sunken. It holds no fire, just frost and bones. Lots of bones, scattered, arranged, unnamed. No markers, no ceremonies, just memory. The woman says, "This is the thinking place." You kneel. Your knees ache on the frozen ground. You wait. So does everyone else. No one speaks. For minutes, then hours. You lose track. You blink, and the shadows are longer. Your horse hasn't moved, not once. Then, you hear it. A soft cracking, not ice. not branches, a thought, forming. Your chest tightens. You hold the bone flute in your lap, hands shaking, not from fear, not from cold, from recognition. The wind picks up. It doesn't scream. It asks, "Who are you?" You don't answer with sound. You pull the spiral-stamped staff from your side, press it into the snow, breathe, and lower your head. The ground beneath you doesn't tremble. It remembers. You feel your breath slow, your ribs ache. Then, a sound. From deep inside the basin, movement. You see a flicker, not light, not shadow, a shape, loping, broad-shouldered, heavy-footed. It walks once around the basin, then vanishes. You look to your fellow riders. They're still kneeling, still breathing, still watching. You exhale, and the cold breathes back. For a moment, you are the snow, you are the watcher, you are the thought. And then, the wind shifts, the moment is over. Everyone stands, no command, no signal. They just know. You mount. Your horse sighs, you ride back in silence. When you return to camp, no one speaks to you. They look, that's enough. That night, the elder places a bowl of fire coal and wolf hair beside your tent. You don't ask why. You just place it by your feet and sleep. Dreamless. Because when the cold thinks, you don't. You just exist. And if you're lucky, you exist long enough to be remembered. You rise with frost crusting the inside of your nostrils and a layer of ice on the inside of your tent flap. Outside, the world is blank, erased by a veil of swirling grey mist. It moves low and slow across the steppe, too thick for snow, too silent for wind. The horses are restless. Their ears twitch toward the fog. You hear them breathe but can't see their eyes. They call it the storm that isn't wind. The elders won't name it directly. Some just call it the hush. Others, the soft thing. Yes, you step outside and the fog clings instantly, crawling into your clothes, into your hair, into the small, forgotten spaces behind your knees and under your collarbone. Your rider appears beside you without warning. They whisper, "It walks today." You don't ask what. You just follow. You're told to bring no gear, no staff, no flute, just your breath and your horse. Together you ride into the fog. The world disappears, not fades, evaporates. Within 10 paces the camp is gone. You can barely see the head of your horse, but it moves forward anyway. So do you. There are no sounds except for the faint thud of hooves on soil that seems deeper now, spongier somehow, like you're riding across breath or memory. Then, footsteps. Not yours, not your horse's, not behind, not ahead. Beside you. Too heavy, too precise. You don't look. Your rider does. Then turns their eyes back forward and spits. That's not mist, they say. It's skin. You grip your horse tighter. Breathe slower, the fog parts briefly, revealing a standing stone, dark, tall, wider at the base. There's something drawn on it. A spiral. Of course. But this one moves. Not literally, not mechanically. But your eyes can't follow it. Each time you try, it shifts. The rider says, "This is the remembering rock." You nod. And the fog thickens again. You dismount. You're told to walk forward 5 steps, stop and wait. You do. After the 5th step, there's a sound. Not in your ears, in your chest. A knock, 3 times, like someone tapping on the inside of your ribcage. Then silence. Then a whisper. You. Your real name. The one the wind gave back to you in the canyon. It echoes once, softly. And then something moves in the mist. A shape. Man-like, but wrong. Too long. Too smooth. You don't run. You bow. Not out of reverence, out of recognition. You're not being tested. You're being greeted. The shape tilts its head, then dissolves. The mist thins. You see your horse again. You see your rider. They nod once, then turn back toward the direction you came. You follow. When the camp emerges from the fog, it's changed. The horses are quieter, the children indoors, the fire lower. You feel something on your hand. Look down. A spiral drawn in ash circling your wrist. The elder appears beside you. You pass the circle, she says. You want to ask what that means, but then you notice. No one else wears the mark. You eat alone that night. Not because you're unwelcome, because you're elsewhere. Even in your body, you're somewhere slightly to the left. When the stars appear, they seem closer. When your horse exhales, it feels like a word. And when the wind returns, it moves around your tent, not through. The mist lingers into morning. But it doesn't touch you now. It remembers you, as one who stepped inside and didn't look away. The next day, there's no fog, no snow, no wind. The sky hangs low and colourless, like a stretched animal skin pulled tight across the heavens. Everything feels paused, like even the weather is holding its breath. You eat in silence. Everyone does. No stories, no flute. Even the dogs don't bark. Then, just before noon, the call comes. A single horn blast. Flat. Hollow. It's not loud, but everyone hears it. The elder walks through camp without stopping, her hand raised high. 3 fingers up, 1 curled. That's the sign. Ceremony of the circle. You're summoned. You and 8 others. All riders, all marked. You gather in the outer field where the wind sometimes comes to sit but never lingers. It's a flattened space, grass beaten low by hoof and ritual. The circle is already there, pressed into the earth. Not drawn, worn in. Spiral-shaped, of course. Always spiral. 1 path in, no path out. At the centre, a pole, short, scorched black, wrapped with rings of fur and dried flowers. You are given 3 things: a strip of horsehair, a dried branch, and a stone painted with ash. No one tells you what to do. You're just told, enter, so you do. The others wait. You step into the spiral, the horsehair in your left hand, the branch in your right, the stone balanced in your mouth. Yes, your mouth. The first few turns are easy. The spiral is wide, but each coil tightens, and with every step, your thoughts do too. The wind doesn't move here. The air thickens. Each footstep sounds like a drumbeat beneath the soil. You feel eyes, but not watching from outside, watching from inside, from the pole, from the dirt, from your own breath. The 3rd coil in, your legs burn. You start to hear things, or remember things. Your mother's voice, a lie you told when you were 8. The first time you saw your own shadow and thought it didn't belong to you. You keep walking. The spiral narrows. You stoop slightly now. Balance harder. The stone tastes like ash and regret. Then, you reach the centre. You kneel. Place the horsehair on the ground. Snap the branch in half. Spit out the stone. It lands with a thud, flat against the dirt. The pole does nothing, but you do. Your ears pop, like pressure releasing. You feel a hum deep in the soil, and you swear for a split second the pole breathes. Just once, then still. You rise. No one claps, no one cheers, but the silence accepts you. You walk the spiral backward now, but the earth has changed. The soil feels heavier, as if it's remembering everything you've ever forgotten. You exit. The elder nods, hands you a bowl of smoke, not incense, actual smoke. You drink it. It tastes like cold air and burnt leaves. Then they say, you may speak. You blink. Realize you haven't spoken aloud in 3 days. You say your name, not your old one, the new one, the one the wind gave, the one the spiral remembered. It doesn't echo, it sinks, and the others bow their heads. Later, a child runs up and ties a red feather into your sleeve. They don't explain. They don't need to. Your horse stands nearby. Its breath fogs the cold air in slow spirals. It watches you, not like an animal, like a witness. That night the stars return, all of them, every one. The elder looks up and says, the sky has accepted your name. You sleep with your hand on the ground, and it no longer feels like dirt. It feels like memory. You dream of hooves, not running, pounding, not away from something, but toward. A stampede in slow motion, each step thudding through your ribcage like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to you. You don't wake from it. You rise with it. Your body just knows today is not a normal day. Outside your tent, the camp is already awake. No smoke, no fire, just movement. Everyone's packing, not in panic, with purpose. You see riders saddling horses, children tying up bundles of felt and rope, grown men folding tents like sacred cloths. The wind is still, and that's how you know something's coming. Out here, still wind is never a gift. It's a door opening. Your horse waits, already bridled. There's a new leather strap looped around its neck, painted with charcoal spirals and a single white feather. You trace it with your fingers. The elder finds you, says nothing, just hands you a small bundle, wrapped in hide, tied with thread. Inside, black powder, a polished bone, and a tooth. Human? Animal? She doesn't say. You ride through the bones today, she whispers. Don't stop. Don't sing. Your stomach tightens. No one explains where you're going, only that it's necessary. You ride in the second column behind the fire carriers. Yes, literal fire carriers. Young men with braziers strapped to their backs, smoke rising in ribbons as they ride. You travel for hours across open steppe. No breaks, no water. Then, just before twilight, you see them, the graveyard, or what's left of it. Spines of stone erupting from the frost, mounds like sleeping beasts, poles with tattered cloth still clinging to their tops, and bones, everywhere, bleached, broken, arranged. This is no random sight, it's a map. The elder signals, you dismount, and you walk. Your horse follows. The others spread out, each person walking alone, weaving through the bone spirals as if tracing a path through memory. And then you see them, shadows between the stones. Not human, not wolf, not anything. They don't move, but they watch. You walk slower now. Each bone you pass seems to whisper something. You don't understand the words, you understand the weight. Then a sound, like antlers against stone, then silence again. Your fingers find the bone flute, but you don't play it. The elder's words echo, don't sing. Instead you hum. Not a song, a shape, a spiral made of breath. Your horse exhales at the same rhythm. You round the final bend, and there it is. The centre, a pit, black, still smoking. No fire inside, just presence. You kneel, unwrap the bundle, throw in the tooth, then the bone, then the powder. The pit hisses and lets out a single sigh. Your horse doesn't flinch. You stand, and you know you've left something here. Not an offering, not a burden, a name, not yours, one that no longer needs you. On the ride back, no one speaks. The sky is pale orange. The land glows like cooled metal. When you arrive at camp, the elder gives you a final object, a scrap of cloth painted with 3 spirals, one complete, one broken, one burning. This is your road now, she says. You tie it around your wrist. It stings, though it's just cloth. That night you sleep near the horses. Your breath mingles with theirs, and in the darkness you hear the pit whisper again, but not your name. The one you buried, gone now, carried into smoke. The next day they don't ask. They wait. The camp moves with a different energy now, lower to the ground, as if something heavy passed overhead during the night and pressed everything down just slightly. No one tells you what to do, and for the first time, that doesn't make you feel like an outsider. It makes you feel responsible. You rise without prompting. Saddle your horse, tie the cloth with the 3 spirals around your neck. Today is your ride. Alone. You don't know where you're going. No one gives you a map. Just a gesture from the elder. One hand swept across the horizon like a painter about to smudge their canvas. You ride east. The sun rises behind you. Your horse doesn't hesitate. You ride for hours through frost over hills, past empty bird nests perched in the hollow of bare shrubs. The sky stays open and uncaring, and the land offers no advice. But the spiral in your breath continues, slow, tight, opening with each exhale, then you find it. Not a village, not a shrine, a stone, one, tall, weathered, ringed in feathers. Someone has carved a spiral into its base, but this one's unfinished. Your horse stops beside it and lowers its head. You dismount. The wind is light but focused, like it knows this place well. You kneel and press your hand to the stone, cold, unmoving. But then, a warmth spreads through your palm. Not temperature, recognition. You draw the final arc, complete the spiral. The wind lifts slightly, a rustle in the grass behind you. You turn and see 3 riders, not from your camp, not from any camp. They wear robes the colour of dried blood and sky shadow. Each carries a staff carved with rings, bones and feathers. One of them steps forward and holds out a flask. You take it. Drink. It tastes like cedar smoke and salt. You don't ask what it is. You already know it's the kind of thing that was never meant to be named. They nod and ride away. You're not invited, you're acknowledged. You sit beside the stone for a while, watching the sky shift from white to gold, then mount again and ride the long way back. Not because you're lost, because the land is still speaking. Along the way, you see things you've missed before. Old fire pits buried in ice, feathers tied to bushes, whispering in the wind, carvings in rocks, horses, birds, spirals. You. Someone knew you'd come. You return just after sunset. The camp greets you with silence, but a space has been cleared beside the fire. Your spot. You sit, and the child who once tied a feather in your sleeve now brings you a bowl. It's filled with black water and pieces of ice shaped like teeth. You drink. Everyone watches. Then the elder speaks. Now you carry the circle, and you feel it. Heavy, right behind your ribs. Not a burden, a center. You close your eyes, hear the fire, hear the wind, hear your horse breathing. And beneath it all, something older, the steppe itself, not speaking in language, but in pulse. It says you are ready, not to lead, to ride ahead. Because the wolves are not gone, the night is not safe, but now you are the fire they circle and the spiral they fear. They wake you before dawn. No voice, just a quiet presence at your door and a long shadow across the frost. You step outside already dressed, already knowing. The horses are ready, their breath rising like incense from the mouths of gods, too tired to judge anymore. The camp is still in the way a heartbeat stills between beats, still in the way a breath pauses before it returns. You walk to the fire, it's low, coals only, but alive. The elder stands beside it, her hand resting on the head of your horse. She says nothing, she doesn't have to. You kneel, she hands you a final gift, not a charm, not a name, a bowl, carved from horns stained with soot lined with fur. Inside, dried herbs, horsehair, a single white pebble. You recognize none of it, and all of it. Tonight, she says, you ride beyond. You nod. She doesn't say goodbye. She just steps back into the dark, and you ride. Alone. Not far. Just far enough. Past the grazing fields. Past the broken spiral where you buried your name. Past the stones that sing when no one's listening. You reach a rise, a high point, overlooking valleys curled in frost and shadow. You stop there. The air is heavy with starlight. The wind curls around your horse, your face, your fingers. You breathe in, and the air breathes back. You light a fire, small, circular, no flame, just heat. You sit beside it, bowl in your lap, flute at your side, and wait. You're not waiting for anyone. You're waiting for yourself. And then, softly, you arrive. Not in body, in knowing. You feel the journey behind you, not as memory, but as muscle. You feel the cold that thinks, the fog that walks, the horse that chose you, the breath that spiraled through flute and frost and fire. You open the bowl, you take one strand of horsehair, drop it into the heat. It smokes blue, then red, then still. You place the stone in your mouth, close your eyes, and listen. The world breathes, the earth watches, the wind speaks. It says nothing new, but you understand it for the first time. You rise, mount, turn your horse toward the valley. You ride, not fast, not slow, in rhythm, with your breath, with your fire, with your circle. You pass no one, and yet you're seen. The shadows pull back, the wolves fall silent. The steppe opens, not in welcome, in recognition. You're no longer a rider, you're no longer a guest. You are the spiral that rides through the dark, and where you go next. Even the wind does not know, but it follows, because you carry the fire, because you carry the bones, because you are the cold that thinks, and the warmth that remembers. The night is quiet now. The horses are resting. The fire has faded to amber coals. The wind has curled itself back into the hollows of the earth, and you, rider, watcher, firekeeper, have done enough. You've survived the steppe not by outmatching it, but by becoming part of its breath. You've listened when it offered no language. You've moved when it gave no map. And now, here, in the hush between stories and sleep, You carry something only the silence can truly hold. Let your breath slow. Let the frost melt from your chest, one flake at a time. Let the rhythm of hooves drift into the distance like a drum you once followed, and now only remember. You can rest now. The wolves are circling somewhere far from your fire. The wind for tonight no longer needs to test you, and the spiral that once opened beneath your feet, it's come full circle. Sleep easy, rider. The cold no longer watches you. It waits for your next step, and when the fire calls again, you'll know how to carry it. 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 You'll know how to